Welcome everyone back to our In the Inbox series. We are answering question number 123 today, and this is a series where we answer questions that have been asked to us about the real estate industry here in Belize, or perhaps just the lifestyle generally. So this question is from Joan, and she said, I'm thinking of buying property in Belize. What should I know before I come down? And Joan was actually looking at spending some more time here. She had never been to Belize. She heard it's a great country, and she's looking for real estate that she's not necessarily here full time, but wanting to spend significant time here in the country. So I will tell you folks that I'm not here to sell you a dream. This is my home. Ambergris Caye, Belize is indeed my home. My husband, my family, and I are very integrated into the community. We're here just to set expectations right for you. And while it's very exciting to own real estate here in Belize, I remember the first time when I first closed on my very first condo here, and it was so excited. I'm FaceTiming everyone and showing everyone. But there are inconveniences here in Belize too, right? We have no Costco. Mail sometimes or sometimes gets delivered, sometimes doesn't. There are a handful of factors to consider. But if you're somebody who's up for the adventure, who is able to keep a good spirit, and keep a light heart in the midst of things, then you are probably the kind of person that we want here in Belize and specifically on Ambergris Caye. But let's just dive in a little bit more. And I want to just be real with everybody here, because I've seen on all these Facebook posts about people saying that realtors are painting this unrealistic expectation and things aren't always butterflies and rainbows. And I think we all understand that in life, it's not all going to be butterflies and rainbows. And if you're dealing with something in your home country and you don't get that figured out before you come to Belize, then that's just going to follow you here. You're going to be dealing with that problem, with a Caribbean around you and palm trees and blue skies most of the time. But you're still going to need to get that resolved. Obviously, I'm no therapist, right? But I just want to make sure that you're setting your expectations properly and understand here that life is simple. Like I mentioned, we do not have Costco. We do not have Home Depot. We do not have those sort of conveniences that I know a lot of North Americans are just used to at this point. Amazon, for example, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks for Amazon to get delivered to the island here. Essentially, you're sending it into a freight forwarding company in the States. They barge it down. Once it gets into the country, they'll tell you how much it is to clear it. And then from there, it can get delivered to your destination around the country. It takes, though, like I said, 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks if you're trying to order something during the holidays. So it's not that same day delivery, definitely not that 2-day Amazon Prime package special that you may be paying for, but it does get here eventually, knock wood, more or less, most of the time. But just come in with that understanding that life is going to be simple here. In addition to that, we don't have the luxury stores. Like if you're somebody who needs that Rodeo Drive, who needs to go visit Gucci and Versace and all of those places, we don't have that. Belize and specifically Ambergris Caye, think Key West. It's really, I would say, blue collar money, which is really what the island has grown from over the years that tourism has been here. It's people that are able to take a step back and just relax and don't necessarily have to do it in all the designer stuff. Now, if that designer stuff is important to you, sure, feel free to bring it down. Sea salt, though, the salt spray does quite a bit of damage, but I will tell you here, it's just simple. If you want to wear the same thing every day, you're welcome to do that. If you don't want to wear shoes to the restaurant, you don't have to do that, right? No shirt, no shoes, no problem. Think that mentality when you're coming to Ambergris Caye, and that's likely what you're going to be experiencing. Talking about experiencing, your experiences are going to vary, of course, depending on you, and then also depending on the person that you're getting advice from. I think the internet and Facebook and social media, it's a blessing, but it's also a curse, right? I remember when I came down in 2012, I mean, maybe there were Facebook groups. I don't know. Didn't really seem to be a thing back then. And we came down and we just kind of jumped right in. Now I know a lot of people get into analysis paralysis, where they're going to the Facebook forums or they're going to the different forums and different outlets online and they're asking questions and they're getting a variety of answers from a variety of different people. And I will tell you that your experience is probably going to be different than somebody else who's moved down here. I'll say you're not the first, you're not going to be the last who does it, but it is going to be your experience. And I can tell you, and a personal example is getting my driver's license here. I'd asked multiple expats who got their Belize driver's license here after they were residents. And they said, oh, you just bring your valid license with you, and then they'll charge you about $100. And then from there, you'll get your Belize license. So I still have a valid New York license. I took my New York license to the Department of Transportation here. And they told me that I needed to take the permit test. They gave me a study guide and said, all right, come back next Wednesday. That's the day that we do the permit test. And you'll be able to take the written test. If you pass, and you can take the practical. And I'm like, no, no, I already have my New York driver's license. I've been driving for 16 years. I just need to get my Belize ones. Like, well, if you want your Belize one, this is what you have to do. I took the written test, then I took the practical with the traffic officer a couple of weeks later. And then after that, I was given my Belize driver's license. And it turns out that was not common. A lot of people are still just paying their $100 or whatever it is to get their Belize driver's license, as long as they have that valid one currently. But I'll tell you, my experience was very different than what other people were sharing with me. So just understand that, go in with an open mind, and understand that you are a foreigner in the country. So, you kind of have to roll with the wave. Now, you definitely don't want to be taken advantage of, for sure, right? But kind of roll with the wave. And if it's not hurting you or anything along those lines, just continue on. And then number three here is buying real estate can be extremely lucrative here in Belize, or it can be disaster. It's going to depend on a handful of factors. I always say the most important one is know who you're working with, understand their experience, and is their experience, does it align with what you're trying to accomplish? I know people who have made a lot of money here in Belize from real estate, and I know a lot of people who have lost a lot of money here in real estate, but it's just coming in with those proper expectations. Now, we've done a bunch of series, like if you're looking for a rental property, if you're looking to land bank, we've done a handful of those Q&A sessions and longer form webinars, and I'll put those links in the description below so that you can poke around a little bit more. But it's where we share with you advice, what you should be looking out for, what you should know prior to coming in and buying here in Belize. Because if your expectations for, let's say, your rental property are so far beyond what the reality is, then you're going to be very disappointed, right? And so I think I saw somebody come in a couple of days ago saying they were looking for at least 15% return on investment on their rental property. We don't see it here. We don't see it here. It's not common. Let me say it like that. There may be a couple of properties that are doing that, but that is not a common number, especially if it's going to be a property that's managed by a professional management company. But with that being said, that's a conversation for another day. But again, just doing your due diligence and working with the right people are going to be 100% of what will dictate your experience. All right, let's continue on here. I have a couple pieces of advice. You're going to get advice from everybody, by the way. I think these are general enough, though, where they're not getting too specific. It's not me telling you this is what you need to do in order to get that driver's license, because my driver's license experience may be different from yours. But this is what I have done over the last 13 years and what I have found helps at least to be keeping my sanity when I'm here. We're on an island. I'm from New York. I'm used to having easy access. I can hop on the Metro North. I can be in Westchester visiting family. I can be down in New York City. I can have access to food all hours of the day. Here, it's very different. So these are my 4 pieces of advice that have helped to get me through. Number 1 is get to know the people. Belize is a very relationship-based country. Very small population, about 400,000 people live in the entire country here. And so what that means, especially when you're on an island like Ambergris Caye, where it's even smaller population, and it was only started by a handful of families, is that a lot of people are related to other people. So the person who's going to be stamping your trade license is probably going to be related to the person who's giving tickets at the traffic department, right? So if you piss one person off, you don't know what the effect is for everybody else that could be helping you. And in addition to that, because it is a relationship-based country, what you'll find is there really is that community element. There's that saying called it takes a village. And here, I personally, anyway, I have found a really, really strong village. However, you don't get that by coming in and demanding things or being rude to people or threatening people. So it's easy, I know, to say that. It's another thing to put into practice, but just take a couple of deep breaths if you're experiencing something that's frustrating, or maybe something isn't going the way that you anticipated it to, or maybe it's not going the way that is indicated in the process list that was given to you. Just take a deep breath, get to know the people who are helping you through, and I think that helps with your experience here generally. In addition to that, be flexible. Now, this is so key. I remember when I first moved here, there was a lady, she was a business owner. She owned a little cafe, and she said to us, pack your patience. What is the one thing you packed? Okay, did you pack your patience? If you didn't pack your patience, then it's going to be a long haul for you. And that advice has never been truer. I find myself waiting in more lines here than I've ever waited on in my life, right? Going to the bank requires waiting in a line, supermarket, you know, their scanner is not working, so they're writing things manually. You have to be flexible, and you definitely have to be patient. Number three, and I was starting to allude to this before, but don't always believe what you read on Facebook. Like I was saying, a lot of people are going to be giving their experiences, and they're going to be telling you that that's how it's done, but that's not necessarily the reality. What they experience is not necessarily the reality of how things are done. And so Facebook, for some reason in this country, is like the gospel. Everybody's on Facebook. That's where all of the pages are for moving to Belize. That's where businesses are. That's how you can get in contact with people on Messenger. But I will tell you, just take what they're saying with a grain of salt. Appreciate any advice that's given to you, but just take it with a grain of salt. And then last but not least is take care of your items. And this is probably something you're like, obviously, right? I'm going to take care of my home. I'm going to take care of my golf cart. But if you've never lived by the water before, especially here on the island, right? We're surrounded by Caribbean water and salty water. Things corrode very, very fastly. Bicycle chains, door handles, faucets. So if you're building a place, make sure that you're finding items that are going to be resistant to this sort of weather. If you're right there on the beachfront, you're going to be expecting that you're going to need to replace your air conditioning condensers more often. There are things that you're going to be replacing more because of your location and your proximity to the sea spray that's going to be hitting your items there. So there are ways to prevent that, right? You can put a little box around the condenser. There are things that you can do. I think Rust-Oleum is what it's called, to help prevent things from rusting so quickly, but it's bound to happen. I mean, even the buckles on my husband's Birkenstocks, he left those outside for a few days and those were all rusty. So, and it's very humid here too, right? So if you don't leave a fan on, let's say you go visiting family for a month and you don't leave fans or air conditionings on, then you'll come back and you'll probably find that there's some mold or there's some mildew or some things that are growing, right? Just expect that. And again, also coming back to mold or mildew is also going to be little critters. Like we have little geckos here, and those little geckos they weasel their way in through the littlest of places. They're not harmful by any means, but you know, those will get into the house every now and again. You'll probably have mosquitoes if it's rainy season and you're by a standing body of water. It's these sort of things that I think make Belize quirky. It's definitely a quirky place to live. However, it's such a warm and welcoming place to live to. People are the backbone of this country, will continue to be the backbone of the country, even as we have things like the sargassum coming in, right? There's still really good spirit here amongst the locals and amongst the people who live here. So that's what I got for you. I just want to help set expectations right. You know, like we said, it's not butterflies and rainbows every day. It certainly can be if that's what you want it to be and that's your outlook and how you present it. But you are going to have challenges here. But hey, you have challenges anywhere you live in the world. So it's just deciding where it is that you want to be taking on those challenges. But as I mentioned, I've been here 13 years. This is home. This is where we decided to raise our son. We have a 1.5-year-old. We have 3 dogs here, and this is home sweet home. So if you have any questions about living here or relocating here, this is one of the resource guides that we have. It's the Belize real estate process. However, I do have another guide called Moving to Belize or Relocating to Belize that I'm happy to share with you. Just feel free to email me. That's probably the best way to get in contact with us, info@lunarealtybelize.com, info@lunarealtybelize.com. I'll put that email address in the description below as well, so you can easily just click it there. But feel free to reach out to us. Our team at Luna Realty Belize, we're here to help. Like I said, we're not here to sell you a dream. We're here to help you find what it is you're looking for and making sure that we're finding that perfect property for you, because our team lives here as well, right? So we want to welcome you into the community, and hopefully you do find it to be a right fit. But with that, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you here in Belize. Bye, everyone.